What's up, guys, and welcome to the On the Rise Amateur Series, where we talk to the regional scene amateurs in the MMA world and give them the spotlight that they deserve. And the very first one that we're talking to is Gabby Jarrett out of Valdosta, Georgia, fighting with American Top Team. We're talking about her most recent one-punch walk-off KO and much, much more. This is the Knuckle Sandwich Podcast. I'm your host, Brendan Anderson, and now that you're ready, here we go. Gabby Jarrett, what is up? How are you? How's life right now?
It's going good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So it's been a while since we saw you last. Last time we saw you, you were fighting at Future Fighting in Louisville, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But really, first, I want to talk about you right now. You are being the first fighter that we're featuring on this new segment that we're doing on the podcast called the Next Up Amateur Series. Right, so it's talking about somebody that is on the rise. You're coming up in the game, and then we're looking at you as being the next rising star as an amateur, and then possibly into pro if that is your goal. So hopefully that doesn't add too much pressure onto the interview itself, but we're just going to dive right into it as we're talking. So really, first and foremost, I want to talk about you as a fighter. Really, what got you into fighting? Do you have a story behind that at all?
I do. So I think the way that I grew up, the ideas of fighting, the ideas of war were always kind of present. I grew up in a military family, so I grew up watching war movies. I grew up, talking about the war. My dad was deployed a lot. So I think even just growing up in the background, there was always a little bit of that aspect of the concept of war, the concept of violence. To me, fighting and war, they're not the same, but they have the similar kind of ideals behind them. So, and then on my mom's side, which my mom is from Lithuania, which is a very small country that most people don't know about, but I'm sure y'all are familiar with Rose Namajunas.
Of course.
She's our Lithuanian girly that rep in Lithuania. So my mom is from Lithuania, and of course, Lithuania for a long time, they were under the Soviet Union, and my mom actually was part of the revolution to gain their independence back. So in a way, I think both of my parents were involved in, standing for something is how I would describe it. And I've always been very proud of both of them. Just in the way that they both, they stood up for what they believed in. They stood up for their countries. They stood up for their family. But I think I just kind of grew up in an environment where that was just talked about. It was normal. A lot of my uncles, they had military experience. My brother, he was in the National Guard. Just a lot of people in my family were involved in the military in some way. Not really fighting though. And all through high school, I thought about joining the military, and both my parents were very, definitely supportive of that if I had wanted to do that. But I kind of just started, like, we had a punching bag in our basement, and I had just kind of started hitting it every now and then. And I don't know what it was, but I really enjoyed it. And it kind of led me to, I knew some boys at my high school that I knew were involved with fighting. And I was like, do you guys want to all spar? So we'd meet up in one of the kids' basement and we'd all fight every week. And I loved it. I remember the first time I came home from it, I was like, Mom, big brother, I just had a blast. And they looked at me like I was crazy, which I don't blame them at all for that reaction. But to me, I was just like, oh my gosh, this was something else. And kind of from there, I started taking some boxing classes because, fighting all these guys, I was like, okay, I need to learn some technique.
Yeah.
I'm just eating punches. And then kind of one thing led to another. I started taking the boxing classes, and I really was like this. I really wanted to fight. I wanted to do something more with it than just train. And then eventually when I came down to where I'm at now, where I went to school for, there weren't any MMA gyms around really, but there was a BJJ gym. So I started learning jiu-jitsu, and then eventually I came to the gym I'm at now, and I started learning MMA.
Very nice. Yeah. So it sounds like really, I mean, a very diverse background. I noticed on your Instagram the Lithuanian flag you're holding up, and you're like, man, this is everything to me right here. Like a privilege to hold it up. So it's really cool. I gotta ask, do you know Rose? Have you ever talked to Rose before? I mean, with the
I
Lithuanian
haven't.
backgrounds, or
It would be super. I did see her fight.
okay,
I saw her fight against Wei Lee when she
nice,
knocked her out with the head kick.
yeah.
Um, so that was really, really cool. But no, I've never gotten to talk to her one on one, but I did see her fight. So
Hey, hopefully one day. Hopefully one day.
right.
So you are training out of American Top Team Valdosta, Georgia, correct? And you were talking earlier about, growing up boxing the guys in the basement, things like that. Like, what's it like to not only train in MMA in a male dominant sport, really for the last, I mean, for the first however long of MMA has ever been around, but now training at American Top Team as well. Like, is there added pressure there as a female fighter for you?
Um, I have found an incredible sense of community with my gym. It took time for sure though, because when I first started going there, it was I wouldn't say like it was intimidating to a degree. Pretty much almost 90% of the gym was guys. You know, we do have a couple girls there, but some of them it's kind of in and out. But we do have a few that do come regularly, but it's I would say at least 90% of guys there, of varying ages. And so at first, it was definitely intimidating. I wasn't afraid to spar any of them or roll with any of them, but I kind of kept to myself to a degree. Like I just
Yeah.
didn't know what to make. I was like, I don't know about y'all. You know, I just kind of showed up, did the class, and kind of like kept to myself a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But with time, they have become some of my, best friends in a way and mentors. And the guys there are super helpful. I mean, we have a lot of purple belts and blue belts and brown belts, and they're really there to mentor you and give you advice. And then of course the upper level strikers, you can I definitely feel like I could go to them for advice about fighting and honestly life in general. They've been awesome. But I will say it definitely took a good bit of time to get to where I know them, they know me, and we're like a
Sure.
little family there.
Yeah, so that was one of my questions also is about like the culture there, but I mean you pretty much already answered that. It's like a family, with it's kind of like big brother, little sister kind of deal almost thing to a sense. But with American Top Team, and you talked about, having to train in BJJ and because there wasn't a boxing gym, but your fighting style is very much a forward pressure, uh, overwhelming onslaught type of style. Because if I pull up your record here, 3-0, one ref stoppage, one KO or TKO in the first round, then one walk-off knockout in the first round as well. So you're a very forward fighter. Talk to me a little bit about that. Like what is your mental aspect or mentality when walking into the cage, knowing like, hey, I'm about to fight somebody?
Honestly, I wish I could tell you. I don't. It kind of just, you know, you you get into a zone, you flip that switch and
Mm,
then you're ready. I can't explain it. Once you get to a certain point, it's just like blank. I mean, you're not even, it's time to go.
yeah.
I would say my style definitely is pretty forward. I think that kind of started from those early basement fight days. When I just now back then I really had no defense. I wouldn't even really keep my hands up, and I would just stand there and just keep coming forward. I guess in my mind, more offense equal defense.
Yeah, there you go.
So maybe it's from that. I think I do just like to keep the pressure on them, for sure, and kind of try and steer things to where I want them to go and set up what I would like to set up.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And talking about your record and your fights, I mean, obviously, I really want to throw it to your last fight, the future of fighting against Sarah Terrar, that walk-off KO in round one. I mean, you started off really heavy with kicks, ended up saying, you know what, let's just throw some hands and see what happens. And took a second of a break, and then just came right through with the right hand, dropped her, flatlined her. Your video on YouTube, though, has went completely viral. 41,000 views on YouTube for that knockout. Has anything changed for you at the gym? I know we talked about the guys earlier, but like, are they like, hey, star power walking through or anything? Or talk to me a little bit about that fight and then how everything is now for you.
So definitely when I was not really even expecting that to happen, like just the views and everything. And I remember looking at it and I was showing my family the video and I was like, Mom, this is like up quite a few views. I was like, I watched it when it first came out and I didn't really check back in. And then I checked back in and I was like, oh my gosh, like who's watching this?
Yeah.
It definitely took me for, it definitely surprised me. But I just consider it to be a blessing and I'm really grateful for that. And I'm really grateful to anybody who, watches it and likes the video and is supportive and left a good comment,
Yeah.
To me, I think I'm still just kind of taking it in. But to me, I just think of it as a blessing and I'm just like, that's amazing. And I'm grateful to everybody who's supportive. I mean, I couldn't have imagined that. And then you were asking about, has anything changed at the gym?
Yeah.
So I will say the guys said the first like week they would walk up, they'd be like, "What's up, Miss Viral? What's up, Rockstar?" And I'm just like, "Oh my gosh!" So they were definitely supportive and sweet about it, and it was great.
That's awesome. Talk to me a little bit about that fight. I mean, was that kind of the game plan going in there, is to try and just knock her out as fast as you could? Or, I mean, talk to me a little bit about what that was like.
My coach definitely had kind of in passing, almost in a joking way, had said a few times, not let's knock her out. But,
Yeah.
and of course, I was like, if that happened, that would be incredible. Of course, I wanted that to happen, but I hadn't really, it wasn't like a definitive game plan. I kind of went into it like, I don't know her style. I know she's had more MMA experience than me. She had more fights.
Yeah.
I didn't really know where it was going to go. It could have gone to the ground. It could have stayed standing up. I was just like, all right, I'm going to go in and just take it second by second, moment by moment, and adjust to what's needed.
For sure. Another organization I saw you fight for, I guess twice now, is Flex Fight Series up in New York. What is the relationship like up there? Because like I said, I saw you fought there twice already and was supposed to fight again a couple weeks ago, I believe. But like, how did you find out about Flex Fight Series all the way from Georgia all the way up in New York? And how did that come about?
So that's definitely credit to my coach. He has a lot of connections in the fight world. He's been in the game a long time. He started his MMA journey when it was still those early days of MMA where, there wasn't all these resources we have now. It was kind of like you had to go and find that information. You had to go find those people. So he has a lot of connections and he's on good terms with the owner of Flex. And so I had my first fight with Flex maybe like 2 years ago, and it was a kickboxing fight.
Yep.
And I remember my coach he knew I had wanted to fight, and he kind of just came up to me. He was like, "Do you want a kickboxing fight?" I was like, "All right, let's do it."
Yeah.
It's been a great experience with them. Flex is a wonderful organization. They definitely do their best to have a smooth show and take care of everybody there and accommodate everyone. And they've been really awesome to fight for. I was supposed to fight for them a few weeks ago, but I had COVID.
Oh no.
Like 2 weeks before the fight. So I had to pull, unfortunately, because I was sick as a dog. But hopefully that's going to be rescheduled and I will be fighting for them again soon.
Heck yeah. And I mean, you also talking about star power earlier. You got a shout out from Ben the Bane Davis up at Flex Fight Series 2 saying that you were the future. So I'm sure that feels the ego a little bit as well. What is next for you, Gabby Jarrett? I mean, how far do you plan on going and fighting? Are you trying to go pro in this? What do you see in the future for yourself?
So I, of course, I would love to continue fighting and I would love to fight as often as possible right now, as long as it's healthy and I can, come in and out as much as I need to. But yeah, I'm wanting to get quite a few more fights this year. I'm really hoping, some more MMA fights, possibly even some kickboxing fights, maybe some boxing fight matches as well. I would really be down for any of that. And I know my coach, he's has that mindset too. He's like, he's gonna put you in whatever's available.
Yeah.
But I definitely want to sharpen my tools and all around just sharpen my tools, work on everything, get everything as good as I can get it, and just kind of see what happens. I really believe that it's in God's hands. And if this is meant for me, then I will go pro with it. And if it's not, then it's not. But I've had a wonderful time being involved in the sport. And I've met so many incredible people and people that are just supportive. You'll meet strangers at fights and stuff that are supportive of you. And, no one owes you that. No one owes you support. Right. No one owes you anything. So when people are supportive and, they give you a shout out or they say something nice, or even just them sharing your highlight, like, to me, that means a lot. I think it's incredible to see how a lot of people think of the fight community as like this like dark place, or, it's just violent or brutal. And in my experience, like, yes, of course it's true to a degree it is violent. We're getting locked in a cage.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people never see the other side of it. And I would encourage anyone, go to your local MMA shows and just see what goes on there. See the dynamic, see the respect, and, everyone there is working together. The commentators, the refs, the medics, the ring girls. I always try to get a picture with the ring girls because I'm always like, I see you girls. I don't know. We're on a kind of opposite ends in a way, but I love them being there, and I'm just like, we're all a team. We're all a part of making the show happen.
100%, absolutely. I love the outlook on that, and like I said, for us here at Knuckle Sandwich, it's more so about bringing the awareness to the amateurs and to the up and coming pros, and letting your name shine and letting people know who you are. And there was no better person to have us start off this series than with you after that absolute walk-off knockout. So thank you for being on the show. We've got a couple rapid fire questions for you real quick, just to see. So viewers, for preference, she has no ideas what these are going to be. Off the top of the dome, your very first answer. You ready? There's 4 of them. Here we go. What is your go-to walkout song for any fight?
It is Big Bad Wolf by In This Moment.
There you go. What is your favorite striking technique, your favorite strike to throw?
2.
What is
cross hook?
So who is your favorite current fighter on the UFC roster?
Sean Strickland.
And then who is your MMA greatest of all time?
Oh.
First name.
Too hard. There's too many.
All right, give me your Mount Rushmore, top 4.
Holly Holm.
Actually,
Rose Namajunas. I'm going to go with that one.
There you go. Okay, that's a better answer. Yeah, give me your top 4. Mount Rushmore.
Top 4. Okay. Top 4 is going to be Conor McGregor, obviously, just because of what he did culturally for the sport.
Sure.
Next, I would say Kazmat Chimaev. It's just an absolute monster. And then I would go with Holly because she's a veteran. Her crazy ass knockout. And then I'm gonna go with Rose Namajunas.
Beautiful, love it. Anybody you want to give a shout out to, Gabby?
Honestly, just a shout out to everybody at the gym, my coach, Coach Cam, my family, and honestly anybody that's watched any of my fights, anybody that likes any of it, comments, anybody that has any support for me, shout out to you. You're the best, and I really appreciate it, and I love all you guys.
Absolutely, guys, be on the lookout. On the rise, Gabby Jarrett is coming to you soon.